Are you ready for pain? Are you ready for suffering? If the answer is yes, then you're ready.
One of the greatest tricks the CIA ever pulled was convincing the American people that socialism doesn't work. You've probably heard it. You've probably heard people be like, socialism sounds great on paper, but it never works. This is always super interesting to me when I hear this, because I always follow it up with a follow-up question. I go, what's your metric for something working? What metric are you using for success? Because I personally have run a business on a socialist platform for the past coming up on 11 years. Everyone who works at the company gets equal pay. We don't operate on a for-profit model. We try to break even when there is profit, though. We distribute it up amongst the employees equally. And the business might fail, for sure. Businesses fail. But if it does fail, it will not be because of how payroll was distributed or because we had workplace democracy. It will be because of our need to compete on a free market system, which is a byproduct of capitalism that one business, even on a socialist platform, can't undo on its own. Competing on the free market is hard. It's an inefficiency of capitalism. And the thing is, my anecdotal life experience, it's not the only evidence we have. I like to ask people, what's your metric for success? Because all of the things we use to kind of determine if a society is healthy and functioning, things like infant mortality rates, life expectancy, literacy rates, access to housing, these are usually the things that people think make society good and functioning and healthy. But when you look at academic studies that are not heavily influenced by CIA propaganda, you find that when you look at objective data measuring those things, a pattern starts to emerge that's a little different than the narrative we're told. Here, look, I'll show you one study, but there's a lot of them like this. This one study, for example, used World Bank data. And if you don't know what the World Bank is, it's a pretty conservative neoliberal global institution. Definitely would not have data biased in favor of socialism. So this objective data used by the World Bank measured things like nutrition, infant mortality rate, child death rate, life expectancy, population, access to food supply, measures of education like adult literacy. And they use this to kind of create a numerical quality of life index. In 28 out of 30 comparisons between countries that were running with a more socialist intention or socialist leadership, we see that the socialist countries had more favorable outcomes. 28 out of 30 comparisons. That means that socialism is working better than capitalism 93% of the time. That means capitalism only has a 7% success rate, providing people with a bare minimum. Housing, healthcare, food, security, education, the ability to read. We have all the data showing that socialism does work. We just choose not to believe it because in the 1940s and 50s, the CIA started paying prominent thinkers, leaders, journalists, artists to talk about how awesome capitalism was all the time. It's called Operation Mockingbird. You can look it up. The CIA has declassified documents on their website talking about how they did this. So yeah, the propaganda lives deep within our brains and it takes a lot to unlearn it and replace it with facts.
Let's look at my money.
Hey, buddy! Squidward! Free cleaning service? Census taker? Good day, kind sir. Would you like to buy some Girl Scout cookies?
And I wanted you to know that, by the way, today's International Pronouns Day. Respect people's pronouns. They are mandatory.
You don't get shit from Biden. What do you mean? Every check that I receive, has his name on it. So, I know it's from him.
We can't raise the minimum wage. Why? Because small businesses wouldn't be able to afford it. Why? Because if they had to pay people more, they wouldn't be able to have as many people, or they'd have to raise prices on products in the store. So that means more people wouldn't go to the stores anyway. Why? Because people would rather go to Walmart or someplace that has a lot more stuff for cheaper. People like cheaper stuff. Why? Because not a lot of Americans have a great amount of disposable income. Why? Because minimum wage is only $7 an hour.
I put the packet on the glass.
What glass?
The little glass dish in the microwave.
Got it.
I closed the door.
Which door?
The door to the microwave. What is wrong with you?
And your girlfriend playing dress up at my house. I gave your girlfriend cunnilingus on my couch. She cute, kawaii.
You might be a misogynist if gamer edition. You think that this game is super realistic, but think this one is a little far-fetched.
Just because I do not want critical race theory taught to my children in school does not mean that I'm a racist.
Actually, it does mean that you're a racist. I'll give you the benefit of the doubt and say that there's a good chance you're just a useful idiot for the racists, but your vocal and histrionic opposition to critical race theory, as you call it, definitely puts you on the side of racism. And this is because no one is teaching your kids critical race theory unless they're going to law school. What you're upset about, what makes you uncomfortable, is the fact that your children are being exposed to the truth about racial injustice and how it is a central part of our country's history and present.
Let me show you one of my favorite tools for randomly grouping students. Your basic playing card. Get a standard deck of playing cards, take out the face cards, and have students choose one at random. That will be their card for however long you want to use this system. My students use binders that stay in the classroom, so I have them taped to the inside of their binder, their card, so that they can just open the binder and see what their card is in case they forget. Whenever you want to pair kids up or put them in a small group or whatever, and you're not doing any intentional grouping, you can say stuff like, I want you to find a partner, and your suit cannot match. Or you have to have, if yours is even, theirs has to be even. Or if you add your two numbers together, it has to come out to an odd number. Or I want you to have a group of 4 and all of you have different suits. There's like infinite variations on this. And depending on how you use it, you're also working on number sense. But yeah, group by playing card.
I hate the left. I hate it so much. I am now a reactionary conservative.
This is cringe as fuck. I swear to God, this discourse around neopronouns or noun pronouns is literally just recycled narrative from people saying that they, them, singular isn't a valid pronoun. Like, I've literally seen people use the same arguments that people used to use about they, them pronouns. Now people use the same arguments where they say, well, they, them, and she, her, and he, him are okay, but not these. No, shut up. If you disrespect people's neopronouns, you're being transphobic, okay? Seriously.
In the 1930s, America was in the thick of the Great Depression. The banks had failed and everyone had lost their homes, and unemployment was at the highest it would ever be until this idiot came along. So FDR had an idea called the New Deal. The New Deal gave jobs to nearly every American, set the minimum wage, and created a retirement plan called Social Security, and it worked. For the first time in American history, you could have a regular job and make a decent living. You wouldn't necessarily be rich, but you wouldn't be poor either. They called it the middle class. To get that kind of job security today, you would need 3 jobs and an OnlyFans account. Now, if you're wondering if this New Deal made things better for black people, the answer is, see, part of the New Deal was the Homeowners Loan Corporation. They were an organization that guaranteed home loans for everyone. But just like an episode of Friends, they didn't include black people.
Yeah. I'm gonna tight. No.
Okay, if you believe in reverse racism, we need to have a little discussion about what racism is, right? Racism is not about, oh, that person hurt my feelings because of my race. No, I mean, those type of things are involved, but that is not the issue. Racism is a system of oppression involving all kinds of different methods. Some of them very obvious, some of them very subtle, but there are so many of them. Racism equals oppression. So when you talk about reverse racism, you're saying it's reverse oppression. Like, people who are oppressed have negative feelings toward their oppressor because of their race? No, because of their oppression. The oppression is because of race. The hard feelings are because, duh.
It might be of a little use here if you could think. Listen, Governor, this isn't my funeral. Oh, shut up. As long as I can remember, George, you've been a trial and a tribulation to me.
Oh, I can't stand it. I can't stand it.
You've got to stand it, my dear. And keep that hysterical note out of your voice. You hear? We are talking about the weather. Now, George.
Yeah, personnel.
Wait, hey, don't go mansplaining things to her.
I don't think that's what he was doing.
Oh, well, then perhaps you don't understand. See, mansplaining is when a man explains things to a woman like she's stupid.
Bro, neon pronouns are gonna break the English language. They make no sense. Look, I'm all about, I'm all about accepting pronouns, okay? Like, if you want me to call you he, him, she, her, they, them, I'm cool with that.